It's another Sunday morning. And we're back. We're back to answer more of your questions. And I do want to talk about today what to do when life doesn't go your way, or when life doesn't go the way you want it to, that you think it should. What can you do about it? Is there anything you can do about it? So I'm going to want to know what your questions are on that topic. Hey, Anandit. Nicholas here. Hi. So I'm sure we've all experienced that in life. Hi, Nana. Where we're like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I expected out of life. And you can sometimes feel helpless. Hey, pro developer. Current Jam. Hi. Derek's here. So is there anything you can do about it? Sometimes we get handed, good morning, Donald. Hey, Tuto. Sometimes we get handed a pile of junk in life, and how are we going to figure out what to do with it? Is it Grantis? Hi. We got Pepper here. Peppermints. There's a saying I heard once, so I thought was pretty cool. Hey, what's up, Damer boy? Orly's here, good morning. Sometimes stuff happens in life. Cameron's here. There's a saying I heard once. I don't remember where I heard it, but sometimes in life, sometimes you're the pigeon and sometimes you're the statue. Have you guys ever heard that saying? Hey, K.A. So basically, hey, Lawson, what that means, sometimes you're the pigeon and sometimes you're the statue. Sometimes you dump on people. And sometimes you're the statue that gets dumped on. Yeah. Hey, Parrot Plays. Hey, is it Anuma? So sometimes we do stuff to people that we don't like, maybe not intentionally, maybe not on purpose, where they get hurt. Hey, little reindeer. And sometimes we're the one that gets hurt, or we're the one that gets dumped on. Thank you, Parrot, for the compliment. So, but we all have a choice how we respond to it. How do you guys respond when someone does something or says something unpleasant to you? Hey, Jennifer, thank you for sending me so much love. I've been seeing your liking my posts and stuff like that. Jacqueline, I don't think it was snowing in Los Angeles, but on the outskirts, like around LA where it was colder, it was snowing. I think Nana got a little snow, and Nana, what are you, like 60 miles from me or something like that? So Dayana is here. And Inya is here. Ankit is here. TT is here. So can you do anything when things aren't going well in life? Hey, Rocco Plays. Well, I mean, what do you do? Good morning, Mona. Hey, Marianne. Current Jam's here. Do you just say, oh, well, life sucks. I guess this is just how it has to be. Jennifer said she just watched one of my videos. Current Jam says it's best to avoid it. Thank you. Little Reindeer said you're so good at making videos. Clover Cow is back. Hi, Clover Cow. Good to see you again. I know you're not always my biggest fan, but you're here. That's got to count for something. So, what do you do when life doesn't go the way you want it to? And what do you do when you feel like you haven't turned out to be the person that you thought you'd be? What happens when you thought, hey, Blockwork, that you would be further ahead in life, that things would be different for you, that you feel like you've been handed the raw end of the stick? KA says, I file those things in my mental Rolodex. There will be a time when that person needs you. Okay. Kay is here. Parrot says, I just don't get angry because life is not easy. So controlling your emotions. Harper says, yes, I feel that way sometimes. Derek is asking an off-topic question. How do I stand in heels all day without taking them off? You know, if I have to wear heels for a role, I'll try to like sit in between takes. I try to have a chair nearby to sit in between takes. It's not great. It's not great for the female body to wear heels, honestly. It's not good on your knees. So, or your feet. You can make bunions and stuff. So, oh, Harper says they moved to Oklahoma, but all their friends and family are in California, so it's been hard. Yeah, things don't always turn out the way you want them to, and you have to make the best of whatever situations that you're in. And you have more, sometimes people don't realize you have more to play. You have a bigger role to play than you think you do. Even if you can't control the situation you're in, like you moved to Oklahoma, but you can control how you see it. You can control your perception. You can control how you feel about it. You can control how you react to it. So maybe there's hate coming against you. Maybe there's angry words coming against you. Maybe people are gossiping about you. Maybe things are speaking things about you. People are speaking things about you that are not true. I'm sure that has happened to every single one of us. Hi, Rodrigo. Thanks for being here. So you can't do anything about what somebody else said, right? But you can control your reaction to it. So how do you react? Do you get them back? Do you get angry at them? Do you then say mean things about them? Rodrigo said, you saw Amanda Klein at Dhar Mann. You know what? I just ran into her at an audition. Can you believe it? My first audition in person in 5 years. And I ran into Amanda Klein at that. We were auditioning for the same project. Pretty cool, huh? Current Gem says, how to deal with obstacles coming in life. That's kind of what we're talking about. And that's what I talk about in my 3 Qs series. Brittany's here, yay! So if you guys have watched, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel called 3 Questions with Kat. And we talk about overcoming obstacles in every single one of those. So if you guys have questions for me, I will answer them. Ann Kit is saying, how do you deal with rough moments in life? Well, part of why it's hard for people in life is because of how they see themselves and how they see the situations. Mona says it's difficult to not get upset with others, but it just now makes me be careful towards them. And that's true too. Sometimes you have to like realize, oh, I can't say certain things around this person. I can't say certain things because they cannot be trusted. And it takes time to build trust with people, right? Gregory asks, has the Dhar Mann drama calmed down yet? I think it has a little. Have you guys been seeing a lot of posting about it? I made a conscious decision about a week and a half ago to stop looking at the hateful posts. Not that I can't handle anything negative, but some of the stuff was like really hateful. And it was interesting because, well, did you guys see the post that Nick put up yesterday on his Instagram? He put up a post and somebody had asked him a question and they asked, should Dhar Mann be canceled? And he said no. And then he did a post later, I don't know if it was before or after, talking about how he doesn't have that the hate anymore or the animosity towards him anymore. And he talked about a quote that he heard from Bradley Cooper, which talked about cleaning up your side of the street, which I thought was interesting. So whenever there's like a disagreement, whenever there's something like a fight between people, you may not be able to do anything about what the other person is doing, but you can clean up your side of the street. So basically that means, what am I doing? What can I do that I can fix? What is it in my perception, my point of view, that can be, how can I fix what I'm doing on my side? Because in any situation, there's never just one person to blame. You know, like if somebody gets a divorce. It's not always just 100% the person's fault, right? Sometimes there's always, it's a tango, right? Life is like a dance. And if you don't have a partner to dance with, it's back and forth. So I don't think there's anybody that's 100% at fault. And I don't think there's it always takes two. And some of us choose to find the positive in situations, and some people have wired themselves to find the negative in certain situations. So, Lucas, it's not true that that Dhar doesn't pay actors. And that was one of the lies that got spun out of control. And it was interesting because I was reading a verse this morning in Luke chapter 3, and I sent it to Nana because I was like, whoa, look at this. And at the end of Luke 3:14, it said, do not falsely accuse people and be content with your wages. And I was like, what? So I was like, interesting, because there was a lot of false accusations going on and there was a lot of discontent with the wages as part of the protest. And I was like, well, it's interesting that the Bible is telling us, do not falsely accuse and be content with your wages. And like I said in the video I made 2 weeks ago, it's not that people don't want more or don't want a raise. It's just that when there's negativity, anger, frustration, when you're handling it in such a way, if you guys know about the law of attraction or reaping what you sow, or what you put out in the world comes back to you, kind of the karma thing, putting out anger, hate, strife, all of that isn't going to get you back good things, love, blessings, and increase. It'll only get you more increase of the anger, the hate, the low wages, whatever it is that you're showing such disdain towards. So I found this to be true so many times, that what you're putting out in the world is what comes back to you. So I don't know if, and everyone's got different opinions. Everyone's got different opinions on it. Some people are like, this makes me think this, but this makes me think that. And Mona says the negativity is exhausting. That's right. So I backed out of it. I do the same in real life. It's no different on social media. Parrot says, I think the good we do will always come back to us. Stacy says, Katherine, how do you feel about the bullying the protesters are doing with other actors? Michael Vaccaro keeps attacking Giovanna and then turns around and pretends to play the victim. I thought that was really sad. You don't have to put others down in order to get your point across, right? If you've been mistreated, that doesn't mean you should attack someone who hasn't been mistreated. And I've certainly felt a little of that hate coming back to me, but I had to, I got to stand up for what I believe is right. Katie and Games, such a huge fan. Thank you. I couldn't take place in the negativity. And like I said, it's not that things are always 100% perfect at a workplace. I don't think anyone working anywhere in the world in any type of job could say everything is 100% awesome all the time at work. So it's not that there's not room for improvement. It's just that some people choose to focus on the positives and other people choose to focus on the negatives. Derek is saying, you have an eyelash under your eye. Is it bothering you? I didn't even see it. Is it gone? Oh, it's still there. Well, thanks for pointing that out. I think I got it. So where are you putting your focus? Putting your focus on the positive will attract more positive. Putting your focus on the negative will attract more negative. It's like that saying, misery loves company. So when you get a couple people who are miserable, it attracts more people who are miserable, and that kind of balloons. Definitely, I had a lot of people inboxing me about how they were glad I made that video in favor of my positive experiences working there, but they were saying they weren't brave enough. And some actors I talked to were saying that they were getting hate for not saying anything because they just assumed where they stood on that. But we all have a role to play, right? We all have a role to play in what's happening around us and what's happening in our life. So I think that goes back to that Bradley Cooper quote that Nick was quoting that said, you got to be responsible for cleaning up your side of the street. So when something goes wrong in a relationship, if I get in a fight with a friend or if I'm mad at a friend, if I can take an objective point of view, if I can set my anger aside, set the things aside that I don't think are right, and I can say to myself, how am I to blame in any of this situation? How could I handle this differently? How could I see things from another point of view? Germal boy, this is not pre-recorded. Try it. I think that for a lot of people, it's definitely a learned skill. Hey, Nix Ruby. It's a learned skill to be able to see things from another person's perspective or another person's point of view. And let's see, M. Kumlia says, Katherine, with my deep respect and attitude, it would be an honor. I would like to, oh, I don't know what it said. It was deleted. Sometimes I should like read them to myself before I read them out loud, because you never know. Sometimes I get caught saying things out loud I shouldn't say because I'm reading what somebody wrote. You know, Stacy's asking what my relationship with Nick is because he seems to make a lot of digs at me. But since he's changed his mind on the protest, has that helped your relationship with him? I never had any aught against him. We've been friends for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and you know, some things have been, I would say, disheartening about things he's done and said, but I would never have anything ill to speak against him. You know, he's doing, I assume, you know, most people are doing what they think is right. Most people are doing what they think is right. So until they get revelation to do otherwise, people are going to do what they're going to do. And I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, right, Gordon? Has it affected our relationship? I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen him personally since the protest happened, but it's not that I won't. It's not that I have anything against him. Just because I think people could handle things differently doesn't mean I'm going to stop being their friend. You know what I mean? Delaney says, thank you for the advice that you give us. You're a good actress on Dhar Mann. Do you have a favorite lesson from his videos? It's interesting. When the protest started to happen, I actually was shooting a video where the message from that video said something like, do not assume until you ask. And I think there was a lot of assumptions going on. And I thought, it's an interesting lesson. Kind of lines up. Jordan says, this is a question catching you. Do you know you sit there and get PO'd? Do you do something about it, or you just go with the flow? What if it doesn't go your way? I think the best thing is to try to never let yourself get like PO'd where you want to like react in a negative way. It's not saying that there's not a time and a place for anger, because there is. Even the scripture says, be angry, but do not sin. And sometimes people commit sins out of anger, right? You've heard of like crimes of passion, when like you're so passionate about something that you commit a crime. If a man or woman comes home and catches their spouse with somebody else, murders sometimes take place because they're so passionate and so angry about it. And, you know, that's going to happen. But I think getting yourself to a place where you have that emotional intelligence, where you're not letting a situation suck you into it so much that you're doing things that you later regret or are out of character for you. And I'm not 100% perfect. I have been in situations where I've done things and said things out of anger that I regret. Brittany said, the fans are also adding fuel to the fire, assumptions. Yeah, so sometimes, like when the protest was happening, an actor who was protesting would say a certain thing, but then the fans would misconstrue it or take it completely out of context or whatever. Just the example that you were saying earlier, that one of the protesters was saying, none of the actors can pay their rent. We're not getting paid enough. And somehow the fans turned that into, you're not getting paid at all. You're working there for free. It's not, you know, that's just one of the things where it spawns out of control. It's like, I think I mentioned last week, it's like the game of telephone, right? You whisper something into someone's ear, and then by the time it gets around to like the 10th person, it's completely out of hand. We got Kira here. Delaney is saying, the Lord is always forgiving and kind to those who want to be saved. Yeah. Let's see. Who will be able to control their emotions? It's something you have to work on. It's something you have to work on. And one great way, if you guys want to know how you can control your emotions, hey, Rebecca, is to do that thing where you like step outside of yourself. How can you step outside of yourself and your emotions? One way to do it is to ask yourself some questions. Like when you get really heated up and angry about something, stop and ask yourself, ooh, wow, that really made me angry. Why am I so angry about this? Because sometimes our emotions are tied to other things in the past that maybe have nothing to do with this. For example, if a guy goes to work, he gets a flat tire on his way to work. He ends up getting to work. He ends up like going through a rainstorm. He gets to work late. He misses a meeting with an important client. He's like trying to meet with the boss to ask for a raise, and instead he gets told he's getting a demotion, which is a lower level and lower pay, or, you know, maybe he gets fired. And then he goes home. He kicks the dog. He sees the dog, he kicks the dog because the dog like had an accident on the carpet. Now, if the guy had a great day at work and his doggy had a little accident on the carpet, he might have been like, no, 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 bad doggy, and cleaned it up. But when everything stacks on top of each other, it isn't just about the doggy having an accident on the carpet. It's about all the things that led up to it. And sometimes we do that in life. If we feel there's been injustice after injustice after injustice, it's not this one thing that happens, it's all the stuff that we've linked to it that has come before it. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes people will get out of hand because of all this other stuff that's happening. They'll see thing after thing after thing after thing, but all these little things were not necessarily part of the thing that got you mad, but all the things leading up to it. I'm not talking about anything in particular. I'm just talking about how do you handle your emotions by stepping outside of them and asking, what are you really angry about? Are you really angry that the dog had an accident? Maybe, but not to have that kind of reaction. You know what I mean? So stepping outside yourself and asking, first of all, asking yourself, why am I so angry? And then what I try to do is I try to see things from another person's point of view. Okay, what could be another person's point of view? Why could it have happened this way? Is the information that I'm getting correct? That's another thing. Sometimes we hear things and we act out like, I can't believe somebody did this thing. And we're like, well, how did you know that they did? Like, I got so many messages. I can't believe Mikey and Jay have been fired, and they haven't. I got so many messages. People were so mad thinking that Mikey and Jay got fired, and it didn't even happen. So it's the misinformation being spread. It's people like, you know what I'm saying? So Delaney said, I've had someone get angry with me to the point where they swore. And I've, in life, at some points, gotten angry enough to swear. Back when I did not have as much emotional intelligence as I have now. Mona says, it seems a lot of people are taking things personally. Yeah, it's true. So when life isn't turning out the way you want it to, can you, like, what? Hey, fishy. There's also certain questions you can ask yourself, like, what is my role in this? What could I do to make this situation better? Stacy's saying, do you think the protesters will ever reconcile with the actors who have stayed with Dhar Mann and with Dhar Mann, or is it like a divorce or a civil war, a permanent schism? It makes me very sad. I would think so. I would think so. You know, people have different, it's just like politics. If you guys watched the live stream last week, there's people who think the Republicans are right, there's people who think the Democrats are right, and there's some people in the middle that are like, I don't know, I don't think either side's doing very good. But it is possible for people to have different points of view and still remain friends. You know, it's called agree to disagree. That's what we call it. We agree to disagree. So it's possible. And I mean, if I ran into somebody from the protest, I would be kind, I would be loving, I would say, hey, how's it going? You know, what are you up to? Good to see you. Just because people have acted in certain ways that I don't agree with or that I wouldn't do, it doesn't mean I wouldn't be friends with them. Now, I can't speak for them. If they don't ever want to talk to me again because I've been talking about positive experiences I had, then that's on them. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you guys can do about people who disagree with you, about people who change their mind, right? People are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, it's hard enough to control yourself. You guys want to do things and then you don't do them. You say, I'm going to start my exercise regimen next week. I'm going to get to bed by 10 o'clock. I'm not going to spend so much time on video games. And you don't do it. So if you can't even control yourself, how can you expect to control anybody else, right? So you have to just know people are going to do some things that you don't like, and there's nothing you can do about it except control your response, right? Except control your response to it. How are you going to respond? Are you going to respond in love? So Mona just said, we can't control our situations, we can only control how we react. Very true. So it's up to us. Are we going to allow ourselves to remain in a negative state? Current Jam is talking about, if I start questioning myself, it would end up overthinking and lead me in a more negative state. Well, then I think then there's probably a different way to go about questioning yourself, because that sounds to me like you're accusing yourself. And when you're asking yourself questions, I don't mean to accuse yourself like, here's where people make a mistake. And I talk about this in level 2 of my You Are Worthy course that hopefully will come out this year. You can't ask yourself questions in an accusatory way. Here's where people make a mistake. Sometimes they do things wrong and they say, why are you such an idiot? Why are you so stupid? Why? You're always messing up. You're always doing things wrong. How could you do that? Don't you know any better? And of course, you're going to end up in a negative state if you keep doing that. Okay? So, it's changing the questions you ask yourself. Like, I wonder why I did that. Wonder where that behavior is coming from. Why did I react that way? What could I have done differently next time? Thank you, Rodrigo. How could I be better? What could I do next time to make a better decision so things don't turn out this way. Mona says, anger isn't worth it for our mental and emotional health. Do you know, Mona, there's also physical health that's tied in there, and they have done, doctors or scientists, I read a study that when you get angry, it actually drops and lowers your immune system. So it's not even just your mental and emotional health it affects, it's your physical health. You can get physically sick because of emotions you're holding on to. They have been able to prove that bitterness and unforgiveness is linked to cancer. So, and I think I've talked about this on a live stream. I have a preacher friend who's been in situations where people have had cancer, and he's prayed over them and to remove the cancer, and God revealed to him they have unforgiveness in their heart that they're bitter and angry about. And it wasn't until they let go of the bitterness and anger that the cancer went away. So your emotions have more to do with than just your mental and emotional and spiritual health. They have to even do with your physical health. Have you ever noticed those who have joy in their life, who are happy more often? Jennifer said, let go and let God. They don't have as much physical ailments as those who complain a lot or are always having negative stuff happen. And maybe if you guys are really young, you don't know yet, because when you're young, your body's not breaking down yet. But when I look at people in their elder years, those who have more bitterness, more complaints, more unhappiness, they also have more physical ailments. I've seen this happen many times in life where, well, we won't go there. I will answer some of your questions. Yeah. Goon says, I feel bad for people struggling with rent. Yeah, a lot of people are. The inflation has gotten crazy. Prices have gotten crazy. Do you know, we were just paying our heating bill yesterday, and last year, this same time of year, to run the heat in our house was only $160. This year, it's $420 for the same amount of heat. So our heating bill has more than doubled. The prices in grocery stores, some of them have gone up, 30-40%. So inflation is just going crazy. A-Tub says, I'm struggling with light and water bill. Yeah, I think, and I think we all need to find alternate sources of income these days, right? Stacy says, Mare and Chaz unfollowed you. That's okay. I haven't unfollowed anyone. I don't, if people unfollow me, they unfollow me. It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. You know, people are going to do what they need to do, what they think they need to do. You know, maybe they didn't want to watch my positivity anymore, just like I stopped watching the negativity. You know, we all got to do what feels right for us. I know holding on to anger and bitterness, even the times that I have been really dealt wrongly with, I had to let go, not for their sake, not because I believe what they did is right, but because I needed my peace back. And peace is more important. I have a video on here I really want you guys to watch, and I think it's called Why You Should Forgive Those Who Hurt You. It's a powerful video that really exposes the power in forgiveness. We have to forgive those. We even have to forgive those who have hurt us. And not even for their sake, for our sake and for our relationship with God, right? So we've got, let's see. Harper says, I appreciate your positive live. We've been missing church because we have been feeling discouraged. Your live is refreshing. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your discouragement. We have to take courage. We have to find courage in ourselves. And, you know, everything is subject to change. When you're going through a tough time, when you're going through a hard time, it doesn't last. Robert Schuller, I don't know if you know him, he had the Crystal Cathedral. He had a saying that said, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So we have to kind of like sometimes pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we have to look for the positive. We have to look for the positive in whatever situation we can find. We have to look for the silver lining in the clouds. Exactly, Deborah. I love that saying. My manager taught me that years ago. What people think of you is none of your business. I couldn't believe when he said that, because I was taking everything people did and said about me personally. And he would always tell me, what people think of you is none of your business. I'm like, how could it not be my business? It's about me. But when you get to the place where you know what people do and what people say, even about you, says more about them than it does about you, there's a big level of freedom in that. You become free to just be who you are, say what you feel, right? To be love, be joy, be kindness, even in the midst of things going wrong, even when things aren't going the way you think that they should. When I love that saying that says, when you get discouraged, don't let your courage fade. If life hands you a lemon, just make some lemonade. So what can we do to sweeten things? What can we do to put sugar in them? So how can we look for the positive in the situations? Orly says, what happens if you've been working with your emotions for a long time and that's the only way you know how to work? You know how to change that. Well, you're taking the first step in the right direction, because now you're realizing that instead of looking at things from an objective point of view, you're reacting out of your emotions. That is the first step, because now you go, oh wow, I'm like really reacting out of my feelings. When you start to recognize that, and you start to recognize it more and more, somebody feels they're being ignored. Rebecca, you're not being ignored. I'm getting lots and lots and lots of questions, and I can't answer them all at once. When you feel like you're being ignored, that might not be the truth. Whatever emotions, see, we're talking about feelings. Whatever emotions you're feeling may not be a valid truth. Just because you feel it, it may not be the truth. So a lot of emotions we deal with tie back into and stem from how we feel about ourselves. So that's what I'm saying. When someone says something to you about you, even if it's an accusation, it has more to do with how they see themselves and how they feel about themselves than it is a truth about you. So I guess I'm just using this as an example. So when someone says, you're ignoring me, it doesn't mean you are. You know, just like someone could accuse me of I've had a lot of people accuse me the last couple of weeks of lying. Just because someone accuses me of lying doesn't mean I'm lying, you know? People are going to say what they're going to say. If someone says, you made me so angry, you hurt me, well, actually, I didn't. You chose to be hurt, or you chose to be angry. I did whatever I did, and then you took what I did, made up a story about it that elicited something like that, the feelings. So if I accidentally cut you off in traffic, I didn't see you, you were in my blind spot, whatever. You could be in the car fuming, making up a story. This person is out to get me. They're an idiot. They hit me. You could be getting so steamed up that you are like gonna like be in a rage and try to rear end me and curse me out as you go by, whatever it is. But that actually, in truth, had nothing to do with what happened. What happened is I cut you off. But you made up a scenario that I did it on purpose, and now you're going to be late for work, and now you're going to show me. And do you see how this can spin out of control? And it has to do with how you feel about yourself. So if you've got an underlying story that people always screw me over. People are always taking advantage of me. So that's the underlying story that you have going in your head all the time. Then anytime someone does something, like if I'm shopping in the store and my cart accidentally bumps your cart, you could get angry because I'm just one more person that you think is trying to screw you over. Do you see what I'm saying? So even when people get angry with you, get upset with you, feel like there's been injustice, it doesn't always mean that there actually has been injustice. A lot of it has to do with our perception. So just like during the protests that were happening, or I don't know if they still are, people would take something that happened as based on how they ever think and feel about themselves and their situation, and they would blow it up into certain situations. I might have seen or been a part of the same situation happening on set, and because of the story I have going in my mind that love believes the best, that we give people the benefit of the doubt, that if somebody, if they do something to hurt you, they probably didn't mean it. We can have the same things happen to us on set, and the person that has certain perception could feel angered about it, and I could feel like, oh, that kind of stunk, but everything else is great. Probably it was just an oversight. Probably didn't mean it. Do you see how two people in the same situation could feel completely different about it based on what they've been through in their life and what they tell themselves about it? There's a poem I share on here all the time. Two men looked out of the jail cell bars. One saw the mud, one saw the stars. Okay, they're both in jail, but one is like, everything stinks, everything's dirty, everything's muddy. The other is looking up at wonder. Wow, look at what God created. Look at the beauty out here. Thank God I have a window. Thank God I'm in a cell that has a window where I can see the beauty of God's creation. You see what I mean? You could be stuck in the same junky situation and still have 2 points of view. It's the same way as people who've been like, had horrific situations happen to them, abuse growing up. One could turn to drugs to cope and end up going down a spiral that destroys their life. The other could end up starting an organization to help people who've been abused and who, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's all about how we respond to the situations and not necessarily even about the situation. Is that helpful? Okay, I'm gonna look at some of your questions. Harper says, I'm praying for you, Katherine. You matter so much. You are loved, appreciated, the strength and boldness you show. Aw, and the positivity you spread to everyone. And that's when someone spends time with you or someone is around you, we have to be, I heard Oprah had this sign in her office that said, you must be responsible for the energy you bring into the room. So even if I have, let's say I have something against someone and I want to meet with them and talk about it, or I want to get my point across, I can do it in a way where I get my point across without having to sling mud on anyone, or without having people walk away with hate, without hate and without anger, and there's a way to speak, there's a way to speak where people aren't leaving, where you're not like making like, again, we're against this person, we're against this thing, and there are times and places for it, and there are times where there are times that some of that is a correct way to handle situations, and I don't really want to go into that, But what I want to talk about on this live is, what do you do when things aren't going the way you want them to do in life? Okay, Rebecca is saying, my cousin has had ED for a while, but she won't stop her ways and is convinced she's fine. Any tips for how you would help? I'm pretty mad as she needs to stop. Internet says you can die. Well, you know, Rebecca, the first thing I would do is pray for her. That is like the number one thing you can do. It's a very touchy situation. And is she underage? Is she a minor? It might be something you want to share with her parents. You know, she may need to get professional help. So just telling someone to stop it or don't do it or to eat or you're gonna die, that's not gonna help the situation. And I understand your concern, but she may need to go get professional help. So I would pray about it. And then if you feel like if you need to, if it's serious, even if it hasn't gotten serious yet, she may need, I would just pray about it and maybe talk to her parents and ask them what to do. Some of these situations are very touchy, and I can't really advise because I don't know the full scope. I don't know the situation. So I'm not in a place right now to give general advice over something specific. You know what I mean? So, okay. So when things aren't turning out the way you want them to be, and you want your life to go a certain way, and you don't realize that something inside you is possibly the reason that things aren't going the way you want them to. I go live every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. So that's when you'll see me. That's where you find me. I answer questions, but I also try to give like a little life lesson, because I think we all want our life to go better. I think we all want to improve our life. And the good news is it's in your hands. It's not in somebody else's hands. What somebody else does cannot affect your dreams, your goals, and the things that you want to do in life. They can't. Sometimes something may slow you down, but in the grand scheme of things and in God's purpose, nothing anyone does can stop you from achieving your dreams. Sometimes, I love the saying, man's rejection is God's protection. Good, Brittany's giving advice on the ED. So listen to what Brittany has to say, because she has somebody close to her who's dealt with it. So she's got a little bit of insight on that. So certain things are how, like we're talking about, what happens to you and how you respond to it, and what's going on in your life, what's going good for you, what isn't, sometimes has to do with how you perceive things, which we're talking about, right? How you perceive things and what you think about it and what you think about yourself. So I wanted to share a little bit from this book, Poetic Prescriptions for Pesky Problems. This is a book I wrote. I put out the second edition in 2020. I spent COVID rewriting this book the first year of COVID. But I have a poem in here called You Can Become What You Thought You'd Be. So for any of you guys who feel like it's too late for me, it's too late for me, it's all over, my dreams aren't going to happen, and you've got this list of excuses, this is kind of like, this will give you some insight on that. So, the thoughts inside your heart and you are one. Oh, someone's asking where you can get it. This book is on Amazon along with 4 other books I've written. The thoughts inside your heart and you are one. Whatever thoughts you think, you will become. This is why it's so important, guys, to guard your heart and guard your mind. What kind of stuff are you putting in? Do you have to turn off the negativity? Do you need to change the channel? Do you need to focus on putting more positive stuff in? Because the thoughts you think, those thoughts inside you become one, right? Scripture tells us it's not what goes into our mouth that defiles us, it's what comes out of our mouth. And Scripture tells us in the Old Testament. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you can tell. You ever wonder what a person is like? You ever wonder what's in another person's heart? Be silent. Let them do the talking. You can tell if there's life-giving attributes in someone's heart, or if it's filled with bitterness, strife, anger, because it'll come out of people's mouths. So out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So your thoughts and you become one. That's why we have to guard our mind. We have to renew our mind and not let the negativity seep in. There's a purpose for your life. God has not forgot his promise, though it seems that your life appears to rot. If you feel like your life is not going good, like it's rotting, I want you to know God hasn't forgotten the promises he has for you. And they can happen. They can come true. And you are a part of making that happen. Are you focusing on the stars, or are you focusing on the mud? For dreams will come. At times it's up to us. We must surrender and offer up our trust. Are you trusting? Are you trusting the hopes and dreams you have for your future? Are you trusting that God is well able to make it happen for you? Blake says, I want an audiobook. I know a lot of people are asking for the audiobook. I know. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. That faith will manifest our dreams for more. What does that mean? If you don't have faith for something, you'll never achieve it. If you're running the Olympics and you're saying, I'm never going to get first place, guess what? You'll never get first place. Because if you can't believe it, you will never achieve it, right? So whatever you're believing for to happen, you have to be positive about that. Because the way our brain works, we're in control, right? We're in control of what we think. And if what we're thinking doesn't line up with what we want our future to be, we will never achieve that future. If you're thinking, oh, I want to be an actor, but I'll never become an actor, guess what? You'll never become an actor, because you cannot be fighting against yourself. Two dreams that are in opposition, one has got to win. So who are you going to let win? Are you going to let the negative thoughts win, or are you going to let the positive thoughts win? If you let the negative thoughts win, well, then you are responsible for that. If your life isn't going the way you want it to do, how can you take responsibility, right? What is your part to play in it all? Wasn't it Henry Ford that said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You're always right. You're always going to be right, because the way your subconscious works, whatever thoughts you think, you're going to be looking for it. You're going to be looking for it. You're going to be looking for it to happen. All right. You have all authority. You're in control of your life. You have nothing to prove. Command those mountains without a doubt to move. What am I referring to? Scripture talks about if you have enough faith, you could tell a mountain to go jump into the sea and it will. Do you have faith in yourself? Do you have faith in your dreams? You have to be the first one to have faith. You can't be like, well, somebody says I'm not going to make it in my chosen field. Somebody says I can't do it. Well, as long as you say you can't do it, you still can. The people at the top, sometimes they're not even necessarily more successful than you or more talented than you, but they decided they could do it. They decided not to give up. Now, if you guys love God, you know that in the book of Genesis, God gave us dominion over the earth, right? I have a whole lesson in my advanced course, You Are Worthy, coming out, where we're talking about all the gifts God's given you, dominion, authority, power, godlike ability to create the future that we want, right? You've been given dominion here on this earth. God cares for the sparrows. Think how much more you're worth. So there's a scripture in the New Testament that says, not even a sparrow falls to the ground without your heavenly Father knowing about it. God cares about you. God cares about your dreams, and he wants you to have the life that you dream and the life that you desire. But if you're moping around saying, nobody cares about me, I'm all on my own, it's never going to happen, it's probably not meant for me, then it's not. You have to take responsibility to believe in yourself even when nobody around you believes in you. God will not forsake you or leave you to the end. More than a brother, he's a closer friend. So if your own brother leaves you, if your mother leaves you, if your dad leaves you, if your best friend leaves you, you got to know that God is still there and he cares and he's going to show up and show off. And all you have to do is believe in yourself and put your trust in him. Say, okay, God, I don't see how it's going to happen, but you can make it happen, because he makes a way when there is no way. He can make a river through the desert, right? He did that for the Israelites. You will accomplish what you dream and more. If God's word is believed, it will bathe you to your core. So we've got some stinky, ugly, decaying, dead thoughts of negativity and unbelief in us. We've got to bathe in the word of God. You guys know, some of you know, I had the worst self-esteem. I could not stand myself. I could not even look in the mirror without crying. I thought I was ugly, disgusting, hideous. I thought no one would be my friend. Those of you who've gone through the You Are Worthy course know some of my story. I had to bathe myself in the word of God to get off all those ugly lies of the enemy. The devil, the people who've spoken negatively over me, the people who've said I wouldn't make it, it wasn't going to happen for me. Thank you, Nicola, for the gift. Thank you, Yo Llama Mama, for the gift. I had to let go of all the trash that was bringing me down. And I know some of you are thinking, but what if it's true? What if I'm not good? What if I'm not going to make it? What if they're wrong? See, you're not going to lose anything by believing good. But you will definitely lose by believing the negative. You will definitely lose by believing the wrong things about you. And like Nana and I used to go to the same church. Our old pastor Mel would say, go for it. You may be like, if you haven't gone for anything in life and you haven't gone for your dreams, he would say, go for it. You can't hurt yourself falling off the bottom. You know, you're not, if you're at the bottom of the rung and you haven't even started to climb your ladder of success, what? Go for it. Falling off the bottom isn't going to hurt you, right? There's no excuse not to go for it. Reflect now on his word both night and day till all contrary thoughts have gone away. Are you focusing on the wrong thoughts? Are you focusing on the negative thoughts? Are you focusing on that teacher that told you in the 5th grade that you didn't have what it takes? That's rubbish. Throw that away. A billionaire I know that spoke at my church before, he has a book called, I forget the teacher's name. You were wrong, Mrs. Jenkins. I forget what the teacher's name was. Oh, Miss Phillips. Peter J. Daniels, billionaire. He had this teacher that told him he would never amount to anything in life. He's a successful billionaire. So he's got this book called You Were Wrong, Mrs. Phillips. It's not that we need to prove people wrong, but there are many people who've spoken words over you, who told you you're not going to make it, who are not. Marianne, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And not everybody who gets cancer is because of that. Thank you for pointing that out. And if I came across as meaning that's the only reason they get cancer, no, that's not what I mean at all. But there are certain situations where people have been in unforgiveness and bitterness and have gotten it. That does not mean every time someone gets, no, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate you. So we have to reflect on the positive thoughts that we can make it and not the negative thoughts. You know, those who are at the top, those who've had success, is not that they've never had anything against them or anything is spoken wrong about them or that they haven't had doubts, is that they chose to believe things that will take them higher and not things that will smash them down, right? Now ask, then you'll receive, and knock to find, but most imperative, Renew your mind. Are you guys thinking thoughts that are detrimental to you? Are you thinking thoughts that are saying you can't succeed, you don't have what it takes, you're not smart enough, good enough, thin enough, whatever, strong enough to have the life that you desire? If you're thinking those thoughts, you have to renew your mind. Because only you can keep you from success. Nobody else can keep you from success. I don't care if they tried to trip you up. I don't care if they fired you. I don't care if they're not paying you enough. Nobody can keep you from the level of success that you're meant to have. We can't blame people for our success or our future. There may be someone who we ended up in a certain position because of what someone did to us, but they can't keep us there. And they can't stop us from the big, beautiful, bright, powerful future that God has for us. Since as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You can become the one you thought you'd be. What do you dream? What do you desire? What is keeping you up at night? What are the dreams that you have in your heart that you're doubting, you're wondering? You've heard people say, I don't know, I don't think you have what it takes. You got to kick those thoughts to the curb. They are rubbish. You know, scripture talks about having mustard seed faith. You see what I have here? I brought a pack of mustard seeds. They're so little, you can hardly even see them. These are how small a mustard seed is. Now these are like the smallest seeds that there are. Look at the tiny little, it's like a speck, right? These are the tiniest like seeds that there are, but this turns into a tree, a bush that is so big that birds can nest in it. You guys, your dream right now may be tiny, but it could grow up to be the most amazing future you ever thought. But it will never come to pass if you don't believe in yourself and you think that you don't have what it takes. It starts here. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You can become the one you thought you'd be. That's the name of this poem. You can become the one you thought you'd be. No one else is to blame for what you make of your life, the success that you have. People may have done some bad things to you along the way, but now it's your chance. It's your time to make things right. You can become what you thought you'd be. Thank you for being here today, and sorry I didn't get to all your questions, but I'll be here next week at 8 a.m. Sunday, Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you then.